All right. Well, once again, welcome everyone to our monthly partner webinar series. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Guy Gaster. I'm with Visit NC and serve as our state's film commissioner, and happy to be helping to lead this webinar series. And in particular, really excited about part two of our OneNote deep dive with Laura Cohn, who is a Microsoft certified application specialist. And some of you may remember Laura helped us out with some Excel tips about a year ago. And she also does work regularly with NC State and Wake Tech, among other clients. As before, if you have questions as we go along, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A feature, and I'll help monitor that and bring it up to Laura as we go. Because this is a little different, we will try to address those as we're going through. So if there's a particular question that comes up on a feature that she's talking about, you don't have to hold back in putting that question in, and we'll definitely try and get to it quickly. But we will have time at the end for additional Q&A. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Laura.
Right. Thanks, Guy. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well and ready to get started with some more information about OneNote. I am going to do a tiny review from what we did in day one, and then we'll jump right into some new material. You will be able to get a copy of the presentation that I'm showing. I'm going to turn it into a PDF and then send it off to probably to Guy, and then he can get it out to you all. Okay. So just, don't worry about not being able to remember everything, because this is informational, educational, I hope, entertaining a little bit, I hope, and just want everybody to have a good time and learn more about this software that is just amazing. All right, so let me go ahead and get rolling here. I'm going to begin with just what we saw in day one very briefly. We went into OneNote and we took a look at the fact that OneNote actually comes in two different main varieties or software options from Microsoft. One of them is called OneNote for Windows, and that one is going away, they say, at Microsoft as of next year. The other one is actually something you can download for free, but typically most people find it as part of their, Microsoft 365, or what we used to call Office, and it is now known as the OneNote app. So we went in and looked at that, and I'm going to, show you how to load that again, because I'd love for you to kind of do this with me or follow along with me if you want. Remember, mistakes are just part of learning. And again, if you have an issue, just let Guy know. I'm not going to look at that window very much while we're going here, but feel free to interrupt me, Guy, if you have a question at any point that you see that we should be addressing. All right, so we're going to go in and make sure that we all get into the correct version of OneNote. What we did after that was explore the parts of a notebook, a typical notebook, and I'll go through that again. And then we created notebooks. We created a notebook, and let me just show you what we're going to do today, because I plan to still use that same notebook. If you don't have it, that's fine. You're free to watch this and just, learn things that way. No pressure, okay? All right, so today what we're going to be doing is taking a look at other ways to add content to a notebook. So last time we mainly talked about adding what are called note containers within pages of our notebooks. And today we're going to learn some other methods or other content types, such as pictures we'll be working with. We did use dictation last time. I'll briefly go through transcription this time and the difference between it. We'll work with files from other software programs. I'm mostly going to stick with Word and Excel for today and see how those work. After we get through that part, we're going to learn how to, I forgot to mention the drawing tools. We're going to use those right off the bat this morning. That's always fun. You can, get your creative juices flowing with our drawing tools. We're going to then, though, jump over and talk about organizing and using what are called tags in OneNote. You can tag something. We've all probably tagged things before, like photos. But in OneNote, you can tag something and then be able to search them so easily. You'll see how wonderful it is to use those tags. And then we can also do traditional searching. And we just want to make sure we understand what the scope is when we're doing a search. Am I searching this, or am I searching a lot more than just one notebook? Managing notebooks will be at the end. This will show us how to make backups and share notebooks. And with that, I'm just going to move on. Okay. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is, again, just show you that if you want to follow along with me, if you are on a Windows computer and you go down and find your start button, you could actually begin typing like you can see here, OneNote, and you may come up with 10 or not 10, two different offerings. And the one that you can see here, they look almost exactly alike, but one of them does say Windows 10, and that's not the one I'm going to be using. I'm using the other one that just says the OneNote app. And if you do start OneNote that way, just a tip for you, before you actually click on OneNote, maybe right click over it instead and choose the option to pin it to your taskbar. And that way it will show up on the very bottom of the screen as a button that looks like this with the big N on it. Okay, so start OneNote if you want, and then I'm going to just do a very, very tiny brief review. Now, don't get upset by this, but I ask everyone during the class if they wanted to try creating a new notebook. And that notebook is one we called OneNote Class Project. So I'm going to be showing you OneNote in just a moment and going through some of this information live. But what we did in that new notebook that we created is add 4 sections to it for North Carolina. And then we added some pages within one of those sections. So mountains was one of the sections in our notebook, and then we added 4 pages within that. We also converted those to become subpages and added notes to each one. So again, don't worry if you haven't done it. I'm going to show you what it will look like, and no need to even catch up. But there was another activity that we did that showed you how to create what's called a page template, which is an extremely useful thing. If you find yourself adding pages that need to have similar content, you can copy a page, but you can also create a template for a page, and that might be even easier. So I'm going to go ahead and show you some of that information now. By switching us over out of PowerPoint and going into OneNote. So I hope that wasn't too jarring for you if you're watching on the screen, because I've got OneNote in the regular view, which is, a light background. So from the top to the bottom, you can see the name Mountain Ranges OneNote here. And that is the name of the section that I'm looking at in my notebook. So as I look across the top, we talked last time about how to make the tabs appear either across or going down. You can switch it if you want. Most of that's done either from view on the ribbon. You can click view tabs layout and have them horizontal or vertical. And I'm going to leave mine. This is the default in OneNote. So if you've never used it before, this is what you would see. And I'm going to leave it that way. So horizontal tabs, that's again on view. And this is the notebook that we created. So to create a new notebook, you go to File, New, and then just give it a name. And that's really all there is to it. The name of the notebook appears over to the left. And if I click here, you can see that this is not the only notebook that I have open. So just remember that as you create new notebooks or open notebooks, they remain open until you purposely close them. So even after you close out of OneNote, the next time you go in, those same notebooks will be open. If you want to close one of the ones in your list, you right click over it and you'll see close this notebook as one of the options. But if you go to File, Close, you're not going to see that. You won't see how to close a notebook from there. So I like to point those things out that are a little bit unusual or, not what we might be used to. So let me go ahead and switch back over to the OneNote class project. One last thing about this section, this is called the notebook pane, where you can see the notebooks, but if yours doesn't look like mine, it's because, of course, you can change the way everything looks. So just notice that when I click here, there is a push pin. And so if I click this push pin, then I can see, oh, there's all my notebooks over to the left. And so there's the same notebook list, just I can see more of them. The thing about this is that it takes up some of my screen. And I'd rather, have my focus on one notebook at a time, be able to switch back and forth still without taking up that room. So I'm just going to click this push pin again, and you'll see that it changes back so that you can see just the one notebook that you're in, but you can still just click on the others. Okay, so one last thing to kind of address from last time. If you want to create a new section, you can click the plus that I'm pointing over here. It could be that it looks a little different if you already have a lot of sections, but you should be able to find an ellipsis or some kind of button on the right-hand end of all of your tabs. Now, as I switch back and forth between the sections here, this one doesn't have any pages in it yet, the coast. And so if I wanted to add a page, I should be able to go over to the right and click that page. We did mention last time that a page is not just one piece of paper. A page can be tons of pieces of paper. And so let me click add page, and you can see that it kind of looks like a piece of paper, but if I really wanted to see it that way, I can go to view on the ribbon, the view tab, and I can go over into the section where I can see paper size in the middle. And I can actually, auto is the default. Auto usually means whatever your printer is set up for. I'll make it purposely letter. Okay, then can you see the little edge of the page over here? So that's like your desktop. And you can change the margins from here as well. Okay, so that's how we can know where the margins are. But guess what? We're going to talk about printing at the end of this today. And one of the good things about this program is that even if you don't see the edges of the page, it's going to try to fit everything onto your pieces of paper. And in fact, I'll just go ahead and show you that now. If I click on File, Print, and then Print Preview is a separate thing. You always want to do that first. I think they should have put that button at the top. But when you go to Print Preview, there's a little setting here that says Scale Content to Paper Width. So that's nice. You don't have to hopefully worry too much about it when you're creating your notes. But if you want to go ahead and see what it would look like physically, then you can do that option as well. Okay, so where else did we go? I'm going to go over to the cities section, and you'll notice that this page, wow, it has a different background color. It has a note container here that contains what we're going to talk about soon, which are called tags. And so tags we can use, as a to-do list or a start item. You'll see some more as we get into it. But this is all part of a note container. And note containers can be moved around, although mine's not cooperating right now. I should be able to just hover over the top of the container. You can't really sometimes move a container or even see the containers until you click inside one. So once I've done that, you should be kind of able to see this. This is where I can change the width of the container. I can't do it from the side like we normally might be used to, and it's just not cooperating. So I'm just going to skip over it for the moment. But let me show you over on the right again. I'm looking at the city section of the OneNote class project notebook. And in the cities, I have 3 pages. So you can move pages up and down, dragging them. You can sort them. I'm going to show you Charlotte, and the last one, Wilmington, look very much alike. So how did that happen? Well, we looked at, and this is one of the big tips from last time. If I go up to insert, there is a page templates command. So you can add pages, not just, from scratch, but through these page templates, and you can create your own templates. So in fact, I think what we wound up doing was creating a new page template from one that already existed. We modified it, and then we saw how to do that. So if you take a look, before I show you, I'm going to look at Raleigh. So Raleigh has a blue sky background. I love that. Not always, but today it actually does, I think. So I'm going back up and clicking on view. And the reason that I'm doing that is simply to zoom in. A lot of programs will have zooming down on the bottom right corner, like Word and Excel. Not in this program. I've actually added those buttons to my quick access bar at the top. So you can see the plus and minus if you're looking at my screen. You can see them from here is where I got them. And you can right click over a button and add it to your quick access toolbar. So that's what I did. But I'm just going to use the traditional way so you know where to find it. So I'm just going to zoom in on the page a little bit more. Okay, back over to this again and talking about page templates. If I click Insert on the ribbon, the Insert tab is where we can find page templates. And there are many, many of them. So if I want to have that panel or the list of page templates where I can see them all the time, then I simply click at the very bottom command. So it says page templates ... And when I click that, it shows that as a new window pane on the side. So within the page templates, there's categories, but I can see one called My Templates. So you won't even see that category unless you created one. But you can see that I actually have two with the same name. And I was going to show this to you today just kind of as a little warning that you can get page templates that you don't necessarily want to keep. And if you try modifying one, it may create another one. So if you get two of the same thing, in other words, I created city info and then I thought, well, wait a minute, I want to make sure that every time I create a new page using it, I have even more on there or less information, content. Then you can give it the same name, but you're going to wind up with two. So what you may want to do is delete one of them just by right-clicking over it. Okay. So if I did that, then I'm going to click on City Info or any of these others, and it will add a page into the section that I'm on. So I'm going to click on, let's say Business as my category, and then I'll do the Simple Meeting Notes too. All right, and there it is. So this is really nice. It's got, wow, something information that I want to keep about meetings that I attend or am responsible for tracking. And so if I were doing that, it could be that I change what it says here, because this is just another page. You can see it here, meeting title. And so I'll call this one Weekly Status Meeting. Remember, changing it from either place we'll change the name over here, and then customizing it some more maybe. After I do that, I can then go to the bottom of the page templates and save that current page as a template. So in other words, I can create new pages with weekly status meeting already in them and anything else that I had customized already there. So it's a really nice feature, I think, of OneNote, because we're going to be taking notes every week. May as well have them look the same, right? Right. Okay, so any questions on that before I move on? Remember, there is a PDF that I'll be sending that has all of the instructions on everything I'm doing here. All right, so moving on from there, let me come back over to my presentation. So we did create one, and maybe you did anyway, called City Info, and we used it maybe to create a new page, but here comes the information that's brand new for today. All right, we're going to start off by adding some content by drawing. Now, I am no artist for sure. I do know that, I can turn a pen on because I'm in PowerPoint. Oh my gosh. And see how good I am at it. Ooh, it's terrible. But they have similar tools within OneNote. Now I'm going to turn off my pen here and turn it back into a pointer. But what we're going to do is actually do a little experimenting because after all, if you're maybe have OneNote on a tablet, some people like to handwrite their notes or finger their notes. And you can do this with a stylus, you can do it with your pen, or excuse me, your finger, or you can do it with your mouse. So the one thing I'm showing you is the draw tab on the ribbon. But just remember that if you want to, if you see that the pens aren't working, then click this button that says Draw with Touch. If it's not working, then that should make it so you can. So I'm going to start off with drawing tools, just kind of doing some handwriting, but you'll see that you can then take that handwriting, and once this program gets better at it, you can turn that handwriting into text, which is a really cool feature if you think about it. So we're going to look at that. We're also going to look at drawing some shapes. And some of these things are coming from the View tab again, or the Insert tab. So formatting the background of the page that you're on, inserting space between things, we can look at that again, especially the insert space. So I'm going to move on over to OneNote again. Okay. And I'm in the cities, but let's say I don't really want to keep this weekly status meeting. Maybe I turned it into a template, but I also have a page that I might not need. So I'll just right click over this page and you should see a delete command. All right, so I can do this on any page of any notebook. You can too, because we can all delete pages from our notebooks. I think what I'll do is create a new section. So right up here where I click the plus, and I'm going to call that one practice and enter. Now the page titles that always come up with a timestamp on them, you don't have to see those. You can click view on the ribbon and you can just hide the page title, which is what I'm going to do, view, hide page title, and you can bring it back if you decide you want it again. All right, and you can do timestamps other ways too, but moving on into drawing. I'm going to go up and click the Draw tab on the ribbon. Now, if you, again, we're going to pick up a pen or pencil and start that way. But you can also add a pen. So if you look at some of these, they're really very, small to begin with, a fine line, if you will, like a fine writing utensil. But what I'm going to do is add a new pen. And you have three choices there, but I'm going to use pen. Okay, you can see the new pen just popped up in my drawing section. The first thing it wants to know is, okay, what color and how thick do you want the line to be? So I'm going to create a pretty thick line on this so that you can see it. And I can see it. Once I've got the line width, what I'm going to do is choose the color for it. Now, I'm not going into the rainbow today, sorry, but there's lots of colors that you can pick. The eyedropper, by the way, means that you can click that and then click another color that you may already have on a page, and it will replicate that color. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to choose green here. Actually, I have a green pen up there already. So let me choose a nice bright red. Oh, I have red up there already. I've got to pick something different here. Let's say this blue. Don't have that one yet. So there's my new blue pen. It's got this thickness. I'm going to click away. And I created a dot. Don't worry, get rid of the dot later. All right, but imagine that you're maybe, listening to this and you want to take some notes. So you should be able to create notes by just clicking and dragging, or if you have a touch screen, you can draw on it. And there's my note. So later on, handwriting gets worse every day, and even worse with this. Later on, dot, dot, dot. I may want to translate those notes into something a little more legible. So that's when I need to learn about the selection tools, okay? So I'm going to come up and, hold on one second. All right, so we just saw how to add a pen. This is the slide that shows you how to do it. And then I'm going to show you shapes in just a minute, but here's a shape that was drawn one way, and I'm going to show you a different way. The place I'm trying to get to is, I think, yeah, the next one. I'll come back to that one. Ink to text or ink to math. I'm not going to do math today, but if you're a math teacher, this could maybe be helpful. But ink to text is the command I'm just about to use. The only thing is I need to select first. So I'm going to be selecting my text with one of two different varieties, or two different commands, if you will, two different buttons. There's select and then there's lasso select. So if you're still looking at OneNote, you should see those buttons on the draw tab towards the left. And so a lasso is like taking a rope, and throwing it around something. And if you can follow this dotted line, that's my attempt to create a lasso around this text box. And it's actually text and a square that I've drawn. And then back here, I've used the regular select, which always creates a rectangle around whatever I'm selecting. So let me switch back over and I'll show you how that works. So if you have some text on the screen, great. But I don't want to keep drawing. You might be able to see my little dot moving around. That's my pen still. I don't want to use the pen anymore. So you can get out of it by either hitting escape, or you can just click select because that's where you're going to wind up if you press escape. So I love escape, use it all the time in Excel. Maybe you do too. All right, I'm going to press escape. And you can see that I have an I-beam like in Word, but it's also called the select command. It's already highlighted. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to drag around all of my text. Okay. Now you can see that it selected all of it, but again, if you didn't grab it all, just go back and try it again. You may see an I-beam when you start, but as soon as you press down, it'll turn into an arrow, just like that. Now I may as well show you the lasso select because I've created a dot up here. And I'm going to select and then turn it into handwriting. That's why I'm selecting, in case I forgot to mention that. All right, so I've got select and then lasso select. With the lasso, I might be able to avoid catching that little dot that I did. So I'm going to point near the top corner again with lasso on, and I'm just going to start dragging down here and then whip it back around. So I'm at this point, and that's everything I want to be able to convert. So I'm just going to let go. Oh, it got the dot anyway. Oh, well. You probably need to go back and delete the dot. To delete it, you can right click over it. So again, let me just do this. Let's see if I can lasso around it. Aha. And then I'll press delete on my keyboard. Did you catch that? Yep. So lasso around. All right. And I'm going to come back and throw my lasso around this. Now, I haven't done this before. This is live. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking on the Draw tab, and I'm going to choose Ink to Text. Wow. Okay. So give it a shot. If you ever need to, just, hey, I need to make a note of that, you can definitely just draw the note maybe. If you're a quick thinker or you already had your pen in your hand, and then you can select it. Now, I'm going to move on and talk about shapes. So any questions before I do that? You might get a chance to try those selecting again if you like throwing that lasso. You can see the lasso is still on, but I'm going to click the shapes first. So when I click shapes, you got really not a lot of choices here. There is an invisible grid in the background, squares, if you will, like Excel, sort of. Not really, but sort of. So in the background, if it sees you drawing something, that's close to being a perfect square, it might actually make it a perfect square. Lock drawing mode means that you can just keep drawing shapes without having to go back to these tools, but you'll get the same shape. So if you want to draw a bunch of these, great, you can lock it. But what I'm going to do is I'll draw a diamond. So I click the diamond, and you all have drawn things before, I know. I don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm still drawing it, and I think I'll let go about now. Now notice the color that it came up as. It came up with whatever I had on my pen. So that tells you something. If you wanted a different color, then switch pens and then try something again. You should see. So that pen is really thick. Okay, there we go. And I still have the pen, right? All right. Now I'm going to go to the pen only. So without clicking shapes again, I just have the pen still. And I'm going to try to draw a circle. I'm going to scroll down first a little bit, just using the wheel on the mouse. All right, so I'm going to draw a circle. Oh yeah, I'm really good at this. Okay. Now, don't know that there's a lot I can do about this one. However, I'm going to come back up, and this button is a toggle. So it's either on or off, right? So I click on Automatic Shapes, and it's okay if I still have my pen, but you can see that it's highlighted now. And I'm going to draw a circle again. Doing a little better this time. Oh, look at that. Perfect. All right, let me try drawing a square. Oh no, it couldn't figure it out. Sometimes it works better than others. Let's see if I can do a triangle. There we go. Isosceles, maybe. Math people, you can help me. Okay, so you see how it's converting it as I draw it. So I just thought that was kind of a cool little command. All right, so again, those are the drawing tools. You can use a pen, you can draw some shapes. There's a lot missing, honestly, though. I don't like to say bad things about the software that I'm trying to teach, but as far as putting internal or fill colors on these, you might be able to find that if I'm going to turn my select tool back on first before I do this. I'm just going to use the regular select, and remember I could have just hit escape. If I click on this and I want to put a color in the middle, then I can try right clicking over it, and you should see some information in a little toolbar that pops up. They call them mini toolbars. When I click the pen properties, it's kind of like what we saw before. So I can change the color of what something is. But as far as fill colors, you might not find it. So don't be expecting too much of these drawing commands, okay? That's not what they were meant for. This is for note taking, and maybe you need to put a highlight on something. You've got a highlighter, right? Just like I'm clicking and dragging here. Yeah, so that's what they're for. Okay, so we're about finished with those, and I'm going to switch back over to PowerPoint again for a moment, which has better drawing tools. All right, so we were talking about selecting things, and then what we've just seen is that we can use some basic tools to draw. And we saw that we could turn on locking, if you will, to create something over and over again, lock drawing mode. But escape is how we get out, or clicking the select button. So if you want, and I can't allow a lot of time for this because we have so much to cover, but if you want to go into your OneNote class project or even create a new notebook and add another section called Getting Here, and I'm talking about getting to North Carolina, then think of how someone who isn't from our state might get here. Maybe they come by car, train, boat, who knows, jetpack, I don't know. But however they're going to get here, draw that on a page using nothing but the drawing tools. And then use the pen underneath it or somewhere nearby to draw some text that says what it is. It's a car, it's a boat, it's a plane. And then convert that into text. Okay, so take a moment or two. We're also going to see if anyone has any questions at this point. But after that, we're going to move on to our next big topic. Guy, if you're there, do you see anybody with questions yet?
I am here, and as of right now, seems you're covering it pretty well.
Oh, okay. That's good. Yes, and now everyone knows that I have absolutely no artistic capabilities. I just put it out there. I've seen some wonderful, beautiful drawings that people have done. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. I know that may not have given you a ton of time, but go back and try that if you want. If you have a spare moment, probably don't, like most people. But I'm going to come down and click to go to my next major topic, which is going to be using what are called quick notes and sticky notes. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on sticky notes, but quick notes is a pretty important thing possibly for you. So let me move on over into some information first, and then we'll try it out together if you want. Quick notes is actually the name of a notebook that is always open. Everybody has one. Everyone has their own quick notes. It has only one section. So there's kind of a picture of it here, showing my notebook pane. And then if I click to look at the notebooks that are open, you'll see quick notes at the bottom. So when you switch over to quick notes, you'll see what it looks like, of course. And it's got pages, or it won't have any pages until you add one, but it's going to add more pages as you create more quick notes. Lots and lots of pages can gather up if you start using quick notes. But the goal is not to keep them there necessarily. Think if you're in a meeting or you're doing something and then you have a brainstorm and you want to jot it down. So you don't want to worry about opening a certain notebook, getting to a certain section and so on, adding a page. You can just make a quick note and then go over to that notebook, maybe later. It'll always be there, remember, and then get it out of that notebook and put it where it really belongs. That's the whole idea, is that, I've got something that I don't want to worry about organizing right away. So here's my quick notes notebook, and I've got a default section. And then I've got a page over here, but you're going to probably wind up with a lot of pages. And then all you have to do to put them where they might belong is simply right click over the page. And remember, pages have titles, but you can right click over it and move or copy. So that's what I'm going to be doing. One more note though, before I actually show it to you. You can actually get a quick note started without even opening OneNote. So a lot of the time, if I'm going to make a quick note because I'm in the wrong notebook, I'll just switch over to it like I just mentioned, because Quick Notes is open all the time. So I can switch in OneNote over to it. There's also a shortcut way to get there, Windows, Alt, and then N. Just remember, folks, if you're working on a laptop and your function key, the FN key, is not locked, then you could get something different when you do this shortcut. So if you're using any of your function keys like F1, F2, and so on, you should be able to find on your keyboard. Mine has a little lock symbol with an F in the middle, but a lot of people will have an FN key, and then the function lock can be turned on. So you may have to check into that based on what kind of keyboard you have. But then the other thing, totally sorry about that. That was just a mention that popped in my head. I should make a quick note. But while OneNote is closed, you can also create a quick note. So Control-Shift-M is the way that we're going to do that. All right, so let me go ahead and show you what that would look like. Okay, so here, ooh, look at this practice. Oh my gosh. And the name of the page is So, because it just took the first thing that it saw me put in a text area, a note container. All right, well, I'm getting out of this. And so I click OneNote class project, the name of the notebook I'm in. All right, and I'm going to click the list, and there it is. There's my quick notes. So I click in it. Oh, so here is the name of the section. There's only going to be one. I'm going to right click and show you there's no new section command, and there's no plus button here. So you've got one section and that's it. Some of you may remember looking at the structure of files before. Sections are actually files, if you look in File Explorer, that have an extension of .1. And if I hover over it, you might be able to read it from here. It's actually, the name shows up at the bottom, QuickNotes.1, and where it is. But here are the pages that I have in it over on the right. So if I click each page, you'll see I was just making some notes mostly about OneNote. Oh yeah, I found a recipe. And I thought, okay, really the best grilled chicken sandwich ever? Really? I don't even remember doing this, but apparently I did a printout of it. We'll do printouts soon. Okay, so if you need to, you could add a page, give it a title, put whatever you want on it. But then really later on, you'll probably maybe want to put it somewhere else, like you got a recipes notebook, possibly. Not going to say I do, but yeah, I did. Okay, so what I could do, where is that one? See, I didn't give it a good name, did I? Oh yeah, it was a printout. I should rename it. Right click, rename, right clicking here, and I'm going to call it recipe chicken sandwich. Best ever chicken sandwich. Oops. All right, so anyway, now you can see the name here. But if I right click over it, when I decide I've got enough notes over here, I need to organize, wish I had time, I'm going to do move or copy. Move or copy, you'll see from different places. You'll see it more when we get further in. I can put it in my OneNote notes. I can expand OneNote notes. I can expand my OneNote class project. Here are the sections that are in that file that we were looking at. So I can maybe put it in the practice section, and I can either copy it or move it. So I'll say, yeah, I'm going to keep it over here, but I'll also copy it to the practice section. Can't talk today. So how would I know? Well, go to my quick notes. That's my open notebook. Go to my OneNote class project notebook that is still open. And on the practice section, I can see my best ever sandwiches there. So I hope that gives you an idea of how you might use your quick notes. And again, it's just a notebook for maybe unrelated things that you might use periodically. So one more thing about it is remember that, and I'm not going to close down OneNote because I'm a little bit, when I'm online, a little bit not anxious, but a little bit in trepidation, I guess, about it reopening correctly. Oh, what the heck, I'll do it. All right, so OneNote's closed. I don't have it open, and now I'm going to try Control-Shift-M, and let's see what happens. Control-Shift-M, as in, all right. Where is my quick note? I think it is opening, but it's not coming up as my main window. So let me click back over in this other one, in my other monitor. Yeah, I may have too much running, but you can try this on yours. Control-Shift-M when OneNote is closed should actually pull up a little window. It doesn't say quick notes, or it might say quick notes at the top. I'm trying to remember. But anyway, you type a note in, you close it out, go back into OneNote, look in your quick notes, and it'll be there. So that's kind of nice. You don't have to worry about opening the notebook. Now I'm just going back into OneNote again, and I'll switch back from my quick notes, and I'm going to go back into my OneNote class project. Okay, so there's one more thing to show you in kind of related, and this is in the newer versions of OneNote. I'm going to start saying quick note the whole time. So that's it for quick notes right now, but let's talk about sticky notes. So sticky notes is actually a Windows program that's been around forever. It's actually gone under different names. You may have seen it, something like it before, and you say, that looks a lot like what I used to use, and yeah, it probably is. So sticky notes are actually an app, and you can find a little button in OneNote. It's usually near the top right, and it just says sticky notes. So when you use this, though, you are not going to find it in a notebook later. It won't be in any notebook. So sticky notes are on your computer, whereas you can share things, you can share notebooks, and you can take something from your quick notes and put it in a shared notebook, let's say. But if you wanted to try that with sticky notes, it's going to be more difficult because it's not even the same program. So you can try the sticky notes, but you can also go to start and find it, but that's kind of all I'm going to say about it today. So if you want, I'm going to not take a lot of time for this. In fact, I could kind of show you on the screen how to do it if you want to follow along with me. But I wanted you to create a new page inside your quick notes. So if you have it open, switch over to quick notes, and then you should see on the right the add page command. And go ahead and type in the title of my favorite NC coastal location. Probably too long of a name, but my favorite North Carolina coastal location. And then add a description of that, maybe in a new container underneath it. So remember to create a new note. I'm not going to bother drawing, but if you just click down underneath your title, then you can just start typing and you'll see the container appear. So go back over to OneNote on mine, and I'm actually going to do it. All right, so I'm going to click here. I'm in my OneNote class project. I'm going to go over to my quick notes. I'm going to go to the right, look in my page panel for add page. All right, my fave. Caps lock is on. New keyboard, folks. Sorry. Still getting used to it. My fave NC coastal location. And then I just click and I'll say, it's too hard to choose. I guess if I had to, I would choose, oh, this is really, really so hard. Topsail Beach. Because, I've been there many, 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 many times. And it's kind of like my second home. Okay. So here's my quick note page. It's the very last one down here. So the last step that I was going to ask you to do is to put it into our class project notebook. So I'm going to right click over the page in that page pane, right click, and then choose move or copy. There's all my notebooks. So I'm going to, again, go to my OneNote class project, click the plus to the left of it to expand it so I can see all the sections in it. And I wanted you to put this into the coast section. So if you have that, go for it. And I am going to move it. So it will no longer be in the quick notes. You can see it's not over in my list anymore. Okay, so that was it. I'm going to go back over to my notebook list and go into my OneNote class project again. Okay. And then I'll look in the coast section. And I can see I have an untitled page, but there is my favorite coastal location as well. So they really did try to make it easy. Once you learn how to right click, you can move or copy anything anywhere. All right, so time to move on again. Look at another topic. So that was my little activity for us to try together, but feel free to just follow right along. You can do the cleanup after this and delete anything you don't want. But let's talk about adding things other than just typing and drawing. We're going to take a look at images. We're going to look at a little bit at audio and video again. And big one for a lot of people is going to be getting files from other software, links, and printing to OneNote. So I'm not going to touch really long on any one thing. You can go back and review this later, of course, but I'm going to go ahead and start with Insert tab, and there's a group of commands called files. So there's lots of choices here. I'm not going to touch on Visio. If you use Visio, you can definitely find a file done in Visio. But I am going to show you what these different commands are. And a lot of times you'll click and you'll get more choices after that. Okay, so let me switch back over to OneNote. I'm going to go ahead and do this in the cities section that I have set up in my notebook. Anything will do. You can even do it in quick notes. But what I'm going to do for Raleigh is to insert a file that I might use over and over again about Raleigh. Or maybe I create just a generic thing. And I think earlier, if you had done this, we talked about getting there as being a section that I wanted you to perhaps try creating. So I've just created that section now, and I've got an untitled page in it. And I think what I'll do is say checklist is going to be the name of the page, and then I'll click below that. All right, what I'm going to do is, because you don't have any files that match up with my files, you could, try this with any file you had created, but I'm going to go ahead and switch into Word for just a minute. And I have mine starting on a blank document, but what I'm going to do is not keep that document and create another document. But this one is actually going to come from a template. So when you go to File New in Word, you're going to see templates maybe not the same as mine. It kind of remembers where you've been. But if you scroll, you're going to see that you can search for an online template. And I'm going to search for a vacation checklist. And all I do is press enter. Oh, nothing really? Oh, thought I found one earlier. Okay, let me call it travel. I'll just be more generic here, travel. Okay, that's more like it. At least I got a few things. A dog travel checklist. Oh, this is for me. All right. No, I'm not going to use that one. Probably could, though. I need to remember that. There's one I was looking for, the packing list. I couldn't remember the name. So there's a vacation packing list. You could use any of these. It's fine. So I click it and then I click create. All right, and it talks about personal information. I'm just going to close that message bar. Now, what I'm going to do here is save this file because it's not saved yet. So going into save as, the name of it is vacation packing list. Need to remember where I'm putting it. It's going to be in documents. So I'll just save it there. And it now has a name. Doing this quick and dirty here. All right, so there's a vacation packing list, and I'm actually going to go ahead and close it. And close the other new document that came up. All right, so I want to be able to get to it without having to do all that work. Start Word, open the file, remember where it is, all that stuff. So I'm going up to Insert on the ribbon. I'm going to choose Insert, and then I have these different choices, as we said. I'm going to kind of outline them for you one at a time, if it's all right. I'm going to start with File Attachment. File Attachment lets you look for any kind of file you want. I'm going to go over to my documents. All right, I'm going to switch it over to date modified, so hopefully it'll come up really easy. Vacation packing list and insert. And then it's going to ask you how you want to put that file in. Again, I mean, you already told it you wanted to attach a file. I'm going to just use attach file. And there it is. Looks great, doesn't it? All right, well, the idea is you need to get to it. I can. Now I'm going to show you a little bit further down. I'm just going to double click here to try to get out of that same container. It wants to keep adding the container or adding it to the same one, but I'm going to try this again as quickly as I can. Vacation packing list, insert, and this time I'm going to do insert printout. Wow, that took a minute, but here it is. Now, I want to move this up a little bit closer, and there's something else that came with it. This is the printout, and it's nice and big, right? I'm going to click my zoom out button. Remember, I told you I added it to my quick access bar. So we can kind of compare the difference between the two. I could even just click and add a note container. So this one was the attachment only. And then enter a few times below is the printout. I've got all these instructions in the presentation. Okay, so for either one, it's going to act the same. I'm going to start from this one though. So if I double click here on this icon, it will open the document. It will give you a warning. You can say, don't show me that again, but I'll go ahead and say okay here. And it's going to open up the file in Word. But which file? That's the question. Now, because of this template, again, it's asking about personal information. I'm just going to hit close here. But once this is open, you can see the name at the top, vacation packing list, and it's saved. But where? I'm going to go over to File and come down to Info. Because when you go to File Info in any of these Microsoft programs, except OneNote, you can tell where the file is. And it's right here. And actually, you can do it in OneNote too. Just won't look quite the same. So this is in a folder called Temp. It's on my hard drive, but it's in a temporary folder, okay? So what I'm saying is this is not the original. Now I'm going to go ahead and just try to, type something in here, and I'll say, all right, it's my, cooperate please, there we go, spring, thinking ahead, spring vacation packing list. And that's all I'm going to do, but I will save it. So I click my save command or file save, either one. Okay, and then I'm going to close it back out again. And I'm back in OneNote. All right, now I'm going to double click on this same thing again. There it is again. And see how it still says spring vacation packing list. So it does reopen with the changes that I made. But it's not the original. It's not the original that I saved in the documents folder. If I went over to the documents folder and opened it from there, I guarantee you it wouldn't say spring. So if you start to put things like this in your notebooks, just be careful. It could be that you need more than just yourself to be looking at that document, but just know that it's not the original. So if you go back to the original, change it, you open the notebook, where are my changes? You're not going to get them. So same thing here, a little bit of difference. Now remember, I inserted the document from the documents folder. So when I open up this one, this is the one that was called the printout, then it's going to open with, see, no spring. So it's opening a copy of the one that's in my documents folder. But if I go to file info, you're going to see that it is not the one in the documents folder. It is a temporary one that will remain in my OneNote notebook, but not the same as the original. So let's see if I'll call this one, slowing down on me here, folks, sorry, the fall vacation packing list, and I'll save it. Okay, and I'll close it. And now I'm back in OneNote. So the idea is with the printout that I'm maybe going to show it to someone else, or this is just an illustration that other people need to see, or I need to remember what it looks like at a glance, whatever. But for this one, I can refresh it. So I'm right-clicking over it, the icon of it. If I right-click over the actual document, I'm not sure that it's going to show me the command to refresh. Does anybody see it there? I don't think I see it. So I'm going to right-click over the icon instead that comes in above it, and I will refresh the printout. Say OK again. Did you see how it went over and opened it in Word, and now it's coming back into OneNote? And there it is. It's my fall vacation list. Okay, so if you use insert file attachment, you pick a Word document, it's going to give you certain choices. If you pick an Excel file, it might give you more choices. They've really kind of set up for the Office programs to be where you get your attachments from, Word, Excel, PowerPoint mainly. Here's file printout. It's the same thing you're looking at here, and it does show all files. So you can pick something other than just, you could pick a PDF here, and you'll see the printout of it inside your OneNote notebook. But file printouts, again, they're kind of a link to an embedded file. So I don't know if you've heard of embedded files or not, but you can take something from within, let's say, oops, you can take something from Excel and embed it in Word. And you can either have it come in with a link or not. But OneNote only allows you to insert it so that you can still change it with the program it originated in. So in other words, because that was a Word embedded file, it went back into Word when I made the changes, when I opened it to make the changes. If it were from Excel, same deal. So really, file attachment would get you everything. If you wanted to go straight, you knew a printout, you could go this way and kind of skip a step. You're still going to have to find the file you want to show, and then you'll get to decide whether you get the printout or not. Same thing for spreadsheet, although I can show you how it works there. This is a lot of information, but it's just kind of reiterating what I was just saying. If you do a printout, you're going to have to, if you want to see it in OneNote, you're going to have to refresh it. Now I've done this with PowerPoints. I put, a printout of a PowerPoint in OneNote. The one that I'm showing you today has 66 slides in it. Don't worry, we're way over halfway through. But anyway, when you put a printout in your OneNote notebook, it takes up a lot of room. And you're going to maybe have to wait a while for it to show you all those slides. And there's a setting that you can do where it will print those slides on separate pieces of paper. So you'll see it when you insert the PowerPoint. I'm not going to do it today. But just know that. The bottom line is this: if you want to update an original file, like the one that I created and I put in my documents folder, then all you need is a hyperlink. so that you can go to that exact file. We all use hyperlinks all day, right? So they're easy to create in OneNote, just like you would in most programs. And I'll show you that in just a moment. Instead of doing one from PowerPoint, I've got this slide that kind of shows it. So you'll see that I created a page and I inserted from PowerPoint this time as a printout. So there's an icon here that I double click to go back into the embedded copy of it. I can make changes to the embedded copy, save it, close it. But then if I don't see my changes down here in the printout of the presentation, what do? Right click and choose refresh the printout and then wait for it to happen. You'll see it open it up in the background and then it will put you back in OneNote again. Okay, so I hope you have the idea of what those file attachments are, because a lot of people, I think it's confusing, myself, find that they open something and then, hey, where's the changes that I made to it when I was in OneNote, or vice versa. Here's another example of what you would see if you go to insert spreadsheet from within OneNote. You'll get different options. And the first thing you'll see is, do you want to attach it? Do you want to insert spreadsheet? Or do you want to insert a chart or a table? That's kind of unusual that it asks you about the chart or table. What you're going to get, really, this is showing you examples of all three. So here's what you'll see if you attach file. We all know what to do here, right? Double click, you're going to go into Excel in a copy of the file. Save it, bind, it's in your notebook with the changes, nowhere else with the changes. This one, insert spreadsheet. It's the spreadsheet that you left open. So the last time you saved the file, it's going to give you that spreadsheet. You double click on it, it will bring up a copy of that file. You can switch to another worksheet, and when you save it and close it, you may actually see that worksheet here instead of the one that you had before, if you refresh the printout. This one is what you'll see if you say insert a chart or a table. So really what this is the sheets, the worksheets. So these are, I had a worksheet called one way and I had a worksheet called two way, and it will actually show them both one above the other as you look at your OneNote pages. So go back and try this, after class. I'm just going to move on for now, just for time's sake, and talk to you about the links instead. So in mine, I have a lot of links to files instead of doing the printouts. And so creating a link is pretty easy. I'm back in OneNote. All right. Do we have any questions right now? Anybody? Well, I'm going to show you the difference between the inserted files, and actually I'm going to do a new page here. So I'll click add page, and I'm just going to call this hyperlink, because that's what they were called originally, right? So on insert, I'm going to say that we have kind of finished with this section called files. That's what we were just talking about. And I'm going to move on over and do link. There it is. So a link can be to another notebook. That's a very common thing that people do. I need to get over to this one from within it. Now, there's not going to be an automatic way to get back unless you create one, another link, maybe to come back to where you were. But you can also use this for lots of other things. So notice the address bar is where I'm going to go. I'm going to click the Open or Browse for File button. And I'm going to see if I can find in the documents again. Oh, documents, where are you? Whoops. I need to organize, as you can see. Vacation packing list. This is the original this time. So do you see the addresses here? It's in my documents folder. And I'm going to call this one the original. Oh boy, is it Friday yet? Here we go. There we go. Now that's all I'm ever going to see. But I click the link. Yes. Next vacation packing list. File, info. Where is it? See where it says documents here? That's where it is. So if I'm saving this one, it's the one in my documents folder. Save, close. So the others, where are they? They're in your notebook. There's a copy of them in your notebook, not the original. This one, when I open it, it is the original. File, info, shows me, yep, it's the same one. Okay, so I hope that kind of clarifies the difference between the two. You can't really get a printout to show here if you just create a hyperlink, but what you can do is open it. So any questions on this right now? Let me switch back over and one more time show you. I was using the address bar here. You can also go in to a website and just copy from the address bar of Google or Edge, whatever program you use for browsing. I would copy it from there. So for example, see if I can get this maneuvered over here. You guys might recognize this website. So I can copy, pull you back over, go back into OneNote, and just try to create myself a new container over here by double clicking, link, and paste, right clicking and pasting. And maybe I just want to go to your main web page. Then it would probably be this, visitnc.com. Now the text to display could be visit NC website. And then okay. So I got that in the wrong spot. Sorry. Cut, paste. There we go. Had to have it in the address. So this will open it for me. Open it up in whatever browser I'm using. All right, so those are the big ways of using links. Now we have more to go. Are you still with me? Yeah, hope so. Any questions right now? All I hear is silence.
Yeah, no questions yet.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on then. Okay, so moving on to the next thing. Have any of you ever done screen clippings? Obviously I have, because you're looking at one right here. This is a screen clipping from within OneNote. Now, when I did the screen clipping, I wasn't in OneNote. I was in PowerPoint. So from within PowerPoint, you'll find the very same commands. Under the Insert tab, screen clipping, pictures, and online pictures, only they won't look exactly the same, but they're all there. So I don't want to touch on any one of these briefly, but screen clippings are just so helpful for giving instructions to people, for example. So again, if you're doing this with me, we're not going to worry about what pages we have, where we're putting this stuff. We can organize them later. I'm going to go back over to practice. And there's my best ever chicken sandwich. You know, I don't need that, so I'm just going to delete that page. And oh dear, my wonderful drawing. I think I'll delete that page also, so you can see what it looks like with nothing in it. But I'll add a page to my practice. Okay. Now, if I were to minimize what I have showing to you on the screen, I go back into this PowerPoint presentation. What I'm going to try to do is perhaps go in. Oh, someone has summoned me in the chat, maybe. Well, here's a screen clipping example, but I'm going to see if I can make a screen clipping from within OneNote. So the thing to remember is you need to be in the window that you want the screen clipping from immediately before you make it. So in other words, I wanted the screen clipping from the presentation. So I switched over to it here just for a moment, and then I'm back in OneNote where I actually take the screen clipping. So going up to insert, choosing the button, see how it just minimized my OneNote window and it froze my video. Lovely. But what I've got here is a plus that I can use to drag around whatever I want to capture. And when I let go, I'm going to be back where I started. And here's my screen clipping. So easy. I like it because you can use print screen, you can use Snagit, Snippet, and all of those. But if you remember that it's in all of these programs, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, then just remember, get to another program. If you want to take a screen clipping, you have to be out of that program or at least in another window. So screen clipping is awesome. And then this is a static picture, right, folks? Absolutely. And it's really big. So I think what I'll do is add another page for what I'm going to be doing next. In Insert, we have other types of pictures, file, camera, mobile device, online. I will mention if you go from online, it is the same thing you would see if you're in those other apps and you say online pictures. You can find things doing a Bing search, although they're now going to rename Bing. They're calling it Copilot, which is AI stuff, right? Part of it. They're trying to get that name out there. So I'll say NC Mountain. And I found some, there we go, our beautiful mountains. Oh, we were talking about that earlier today. I just want this picture to be in there, in my page. So I searched for it and it may or may not put it in here because I'm running so many applications to go through this webinar. So my apologies if I just kind of close this out and say, try it. All right, so let's move on. Screen clippings we've looked at. Images. Here's somewhere in Australia. Need to get rid of that because, you know, we should be talking North Carolina, right? Plenty to visit, plenty of places to visit in North Carolina without going anywhere. The reason I'm showing this at all is that if I were to right click over the picture, and this pretty much goes for any picture, wherever it came from, you can set the picture as a background. So sometimes that's nice because you don't want it to move and you want to put other things maybe on top of it even. So let's see, I've got a picture in one of these. Oh, there's one. Now this is, I've shut the door so that this one doesn't come in and try to wreak havoc because he loves attention, you know. And I'm trying to click on this picture and move it somewhere else, and I can't. And that's because I'm going to right click over it. I did set that picture as a background. So if I click this again, then you can see I can move it all around. That's a rescue cat. How about that? His name is Binky. I shouldn't have told you that. So anyway, you can move it around. So if you ever see a picture in a notebook and you can't move it, that's probably why it was set as the background. Okay, so moving on from there. Online video. I think I showed you a page earlier. You might have noticed that there was something from your website on there and it's a video, but it's not from your website, it's from your YouTube, sorry. So it's a little bit of work to do this if you want, and it's going to take up a lot of room in your file, but it could be very useful. So the way I did it, this is the page that it's on, or a picture of the page, is you go to YouTube first, or wherever you're going, Vimeo, wherever it is. And then you have to locate the spot where you can get what's called the embed code. You actually will see something like this. It's always going to have, you know, HTTPS, hopefully. But then you copy that, and then you get back over into OneNote and you can paste it in. So you paste it in though inside a dialog box. So it's insert online video. So start in YouTube. You switch over here and get to graphics. There's visit NC. See, I'm forgetting where I put things here because I've been doing a lot lately, maybe in my quick notes. Did I give it a good name? Probably not. Yep, I'm not going to find it. So I'll stay on that one though, because I might want to come back to that. Here's my OneNote class project. I'll just show you the command insert online video. So you have to have something to paste in here. It's not going to work. View supported video. It's going to show you all kinds of places you can go online. Again, YouTube, Vimeo, different places. But you need to go there first. That's the big thing to remember. And then paste it in. All right. Are you with me so far? And you can play the video from within your notebook. Okay. So all kinds of things that we can put into our notebooks and different pages. I was just going to see if I could click to find the one that I was looking for, but I can't, so I'm going to move on. All right, how about we take a look at audio and video recordings. Now, if you were here last time, we did talk about going in and saying speaking using dictation. And for me, it works really well. I mean, I would much rather talk to create a note than type, or even use the pen, of course, would be my lowest choice. But you can also do a video recording or an audio recording, and it really creates a file while you're talking. And this is different because you're talking, but you are creating a file, whereas dictation only creates a note container with the text in it. It's not saving a file anywhere else. So when you do the audio recording, if you decide to do it, then you can transcribe it. And I went forward before I meant to, so hang on a second. But it does require that to actually see it. So I think I'm going to go here to practice again, and I'm going to type in transcription. Oops. Okay, I'll click down below that and go up to insert. All right, so we just did online video, record video. It would record, and then we've got a transcribe command as well. I'm actually going to start from transcribe because I don't want to record the video. I want to record the audio. Only the audio. All right, so I can see this, and it is, I think, recording right now. You can see my controls up here. So it says it's recording, and I'm hoping that it is recording, but I'm going to tell it to stop recording. All right, and now you can see that there's a playback tab, and I need to transcribe it. So I can listen to it again by double clicking on this icon. I can go back and hear it. But if I actually want to see it as text in my notebook, then I need to do the transcription. So I'll click on transcribe. And I'm going to have to upload this. Now the file name, it should have picked up on the one that I was in. So let's see what the name of this one is. If I hover over it, it should show me transcription WMA. It should be part of that one. So let me try. I'm sorry, what? All right, so I can see this. And it is, I think, recording right now. You can see my controls up here. There you go. So I'm listening to it. It's recording. Stop. But what I'm trying to do is upload that audio. Maybe you have to, that's right. I'm sorry, folks. My mistake. I think you have to start the recording from here. All right, so this is my second recording, and I will save it and transcribe it now. There we go. So it's uploading to OneDrive. So one way you can go back and listen. This way, you can actually have it transcribe the text for you. You can close this pane and the document and come back to it later. Okay. So there's the sound of it, but I should be able to see it as well. So this is my second recording, and I will save it and transcribe it now. Okay. All right, so it's not showing me what I wanted to show you, but maybe you have to try it on your own, that you can go ahead and make speech turn into text if you want to by using this transcription service. Okay, so that could be really helpful if you think about it. You go into a meeting and then, you know, you don't want to take notes, but maybe if you have your tablet with you, you could go ahead and record what's going on, or even the video, and then be able to see it or hear it again. in a couple of different formats. All right. Did you know OneNote could do all of this? It's pretty amazing, isn't it? I think. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. How much more can we do? I don't know. So you can save these as attachments. You can even enable search so you can search for words. Wow. So you can maybe, you go back and listen to the transcription of this and you're saying, can you just skip to the point where she was talking about transcription? So you can actually go in and enable the searching for certain words. It's going to be way too time consuming for me to show you today. So go online and Google transcription and how to search for words in OneNote. Okay, coming up to the last of this section that we've been talking about, getting content from other places into OneNote. All right, now know again, I haven't been spending a ton of time on any one thing, just trying to give you some ideas. So here's one that I found a lot that I use. So if you go and print from practically anywhere using the print command, you can set your printer to be the OneNote app. And when you do that, immediately after you click, I forget where I was here, it looks like I was in Word, and I just went to File Print. Before I hit the print button, I chose the OneNote desktop app, click the print button, and then this will appear. So this is another way to create a file printout. But this way you don't have to open up the OneNote notebook first. So you say, I'm already in Word, I want to save this in my notebook, print it to OneNote. And you get to pick which notebook it goes in, which section it goes in. You can put it in Quick Notes if you want. It can go pretty much anywhere within OneNote. All right, so I bet a lot of people might find they use that one after this from Excel, from anywhere. I even right-click, or in Outlook, I print emails to notebooks a lot. So see if you want to give that a try using the print command to OneNote. I don't know that we're going to have enough time for us to do this, but you could try inserting an online picture that reminds you of that beach location you were talking about. But then again, you guys want to be out of here within the next 30 minutes. I think we better move on. I didn't do the timing on that one very well, I'm afraid, but I know you want to see this one, okay? So let's go ahead. This is my second big topic of the day, and this one won't take very long, but using tags and search options inside OneNote. A lot of companies, organizations like yours, will use OneNote to store their procedures or store their lots of different documentation that everyone needs to get to and use on a daily basis. And so instead of having to go to someone's OneDrive or someone's SharePoint site, what they can do is go into OneNote and then very quickly locate that information. So that's what I'm about to show you. I'm going back into OneNote here, and I'm going to go in, getting out of the playback here. I'll just click back on Home. Okay, and within this, I'm going to leave this page and go back over to Mountains just to have something else on the screen. Doesn't matter where I start. But in the high country, it's possible that I could need to do some things. So you might remember these from the page templates that we did earlier. But on the Home tab, you have this group of commands called tags. Now I'm going to take them a little bit separately in terms of the regular tags and then the OneNote, the Outlook task. I'm going to start with just these. So I'm going to click on To Do, and you should see how it created for me an item. So what I want to do here is research. Let's see, Boone. I believe Boone is one of the places in the high country. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. I'm going to also say locate skiing. And I know there's a lot of that up there. And then I'll also maybe say research camping. Okay. So that's how easy it is to create a to-do list inside OneNote. And you can copy that and paste it onto the other pages if you want and just change. So remember, I used the word research a couple of times here. In fact, I think I will just copy that switch over to the coast. I'll skip the Piedmont. I should go to the Piedmont. I live there after all. All right, I'm going to right click and paste that in. And I'm going to say research country side camping, locate fishing, and also research camping. Said that twice, didn't I? So how about countryside restaurants? Okay. So that gives you an idea. If you look at all the different tags, you'll see that there are tons of them that you can use. Definitely go in and take a look at these. So to do priority 1, maybe I should put that on locate fishing. Not for me, for someone else. So you can actually apply more than one tag to something, and I can also make sure I remember it by making it important. Yes, we want to make sure locate fishing is in there, right? Right. Okay, so now I'm going to go into this command. This is called find tags. They should have renamed it, but you'll see what happens when I open it. Find tags opens what's called the tag summary. And it organizes things by the type of tag in the beginning, but you can organize it by a lot of other things. Before I do anything, realize that it is searching in every single notebook, all of the notebooks that I have. So if I want to know, let me go back over to, before I do this, I'm going to go back to my OneNote notes. So I'm not even in that notebook anymore, but I want to quickly go to locate fishing. And I click, look, it puts me back in that notebook, puts me right where I had it. So if it's in there more than one time, you'll see it repeated. Locate fishing, locate fishing. Watch what do you do with a to-do list? You check things off, right? I'm going to check it off here. And then I'm going to come back over here to the tag summary. And do you see where it says refresh results? I click that and it's checked off here. You can actually check it off from either place, but you probably want to do it from the actual document most of the time. I'll go to locate fishing from up here, same thing. So I haven't used a lot of tags. Let's see if I've done anything else. There's locate fishing again. Here's one called linked notes that I'd marked previously, and I've already checked it off. So if I come back over and uncheck it from here, it just got flagged back over here. So try it out, and it can be a really great organizational tool if you start using these things and you want to know, well, have I done that? Did I do it all? And maybe you have these things on different pages even, then you can use those tags. And again, show them in different ways if you want, by different organizations. Here it is by section. Research camping, there it is. Research countryside restaurants. Remember, if you don't tell it otherwise, it's going to search all your notebooks. I'm going to also show you this, create a summary page. So you see all these tags that are up here, right? When I create a summary page, where I am right now is in the Piedmont, and you can see that there's only one page in it. So a summary page is this. It's called Piedmont because that's the name of the section, but there's all the things from the Piedmont all together. So I can kind of use this as history of what I had done, and you can even use it to check things off from in there. So, give that some thought. It's easy to do. Tags are on the home ribbon tab so that you can use them. So any questions on this right now? Okay. So I think that the big thing is to remember that you have to go to this command called find tags in order to see the tag summary, all of them right there. And that if you're using it for to-do lists, which a lot of us do, that you want to refresh the results if you want to see it within this window pane. Okay. So another thing that you can do in OneNote really easily is to search. And again, there's a default of what the search is going to be. So remember, I did find tags, And this one is just a to-do tag they stuck up there because they knew you'd probably use that one more than any of the rest. But I'm going to turn find tags back off again, or I can just come over and close that summary. But something that is similar is searching. So I'm going to click searching, nothing to do with the ribbon necessarily, but I'm going to search for the word fishing. And it says it found it in the Piedmont. I'm going to come back up and say search for coast. And it says, all right, I found a section called coast and I found a page called coast. And it searches all word forms. You know, coastal comes up as well. Or I can say, I just want to remember where I did an image. Wow. And here's anything that starts with IM is listed here. So the default is that it searches everywhere. So let me back this up for a minute. There is a little arrow, very difficult to, I mean, it's there, and I would probably skip right over it, but when you use this, you can change the scope of where it searches. You may want it to do all notebooks because again, you're looking for procedures or something like that. You don't remember what notebook it was in. It was on emergency, whatever. So you type in that phrase, it will search all the notebooks by default. You can set a different scope as the default if you want to. But what's also really cool is that you can pin this to a window. So down at the bottom, if I pin the note, I have to search for something first. Okay, what can I search for? Let's say NC. All right, I'm searching for NC, pin the note panel. Then pinning it creates this search results window. And I can click here, click there, wherever it found it, it takes me to it. You can also do audio searching that way. Remember we said that earlier? You can search within audio if you've allowed it to do that. So go back and research that. Okay, searching notebooks, very, very important for a lot of us, especially me. You can see how disorganized I am right now. Okay, so searching using tags, two main ways of making yourself or trying to help yourself be organized. Now I'm going to address Outlook because we have to, right? You can't live a day without it. I could. Maybe I look up camping again in my information. Yeah, I think I should. So anyway, working with Outlook. Outlook task. You can create one from here. So locate fishing is incredibly important. I've told you that already. So I'm clicking inside something that I've just done with a regular tag, has nothing to do with Outlook at all. But if I come up to Outlook task, you're going to see a flag when you do those. So I'll say, yep, it has to be done by tomorrow. Now, if you can see this, you actually see a little flag over here. And if I go into Outlook, it'll be there. It'll be one of my tasks. There's actually a way you can get into it from here. So when I go into Outlook, you'll find it there. I'm not going to go into Outlook from here, okay? But trust me, it'll be there. So what do we do when we have a task? We complete them, right? So when you complete it in Outlook, it's going to show it over here. It's pretty cool. So you may want to use that. You may want to stay away from it, but that's what it's for. Let me see if I have something that'll show you just a little more detail without me having to go in and actually do it. So that was the searching. How can you use tags? Then I kind of separated Outlook into a different section.
Hey,
So
Laura,
here's it. Yes,
sorry, real quick on
sure.
tagging. Can you tag individual users as well? Like if there's a collaborative document?
We're going to talk about that in the very end of this, which I better
Gotcha.
hurry up and do. But if you have a shared notebook, it does track things by the author. And that could be, you know, something similar that
Okay.
I don't know if that's going to serve the same purpose or not, come to think of it. But I think you can actually. Let's go back over here and look at these tags.
Yeah, I saw a contact, it
But you
looked like.
can customize tags. So you can actually create a new tag. There's one for contact. And the display name, could call this guy and say, okay, whatever it should look like. Give you a different symbol here. You're going to be the blue triangle, okay? All right, and let's put that on. How about that? So then we can look for the guy tags. Now I've grouped them by section, but I can group them by tag name, and there's all yours. Would that work?
Sure. Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. So working with Outlook, just one or two more things on this. You can, in Outlook, find a command that will actually grab something from a meeting and produce information for you like this. It actually, if you've gone into Teams meetings before, maybe you've seen, the information for the meeting, who set it up, here's a link to it, and so on. So you just need to be on a OneNote page. You go to meeting details, it's called. And from within OneNote, you choose the meeting. Have to have a meeting, so it won't work without one. But if I switch back over, zoom out here, take a look at meeting details. So it's looking, you can switch email addresses, and I don't have anything in the one that I'm using today. But you find the meeting on the date that you have the meeting, and then you click the specific meeting, and it will actually pop that information in on the page. And what's also nice is that it has a refresh on the page. So a lot of people do this for their weekly meetings, let's say, or their recurring meetings, like we set up. Remember one of those page templates? So you could have your page template there for your meeting. You can then pop in the details of the meeting from Outlook. You can use that to go into the meeting because there's a link to it. You could maybe take notes in OneNote while you're in the meeting if you can do that kind of thing, multitasking, and I know you can. And then you can come back and refresh the details on the page. So this is the one that it gave me, and I went in and changed the name of the meeting, and it actually updated when I hit refresh on the page. So I started from here, clicked that meeting, and this is what it put on the page. Okay, and you can add notes. Hope you're getting some ideas here. You can also email a page, and this is an example of me just taking that command on the home tab and saying email it. It starts up an email in Outlook. You can see the attachment down here is a static picture. It doesn't actually send the video because that's what this was, but it definitely gives a subject and gives you a picture. Easy peasy. Okay, printing and exporting, another topic here, and I think we're gonna make it. Lot to do with Outlook, right, folks? And this is definitely not all of it. It's just what I could pull together to kind of fit into our time frame here. But your print options from within OneNote, when you go to File and Print Preview, this will say Current Page, but look at the choices over here. You have Page Group, Current Page, Current Section. If you're wondering what a page group is, when we set up our notebook, this one, the OneNote class project, I ask you to create one. Let me close out of the meeting details so I have more room here. So under cities, or rather, excuse me, it was under mountains. I had you put in 4 pages to begin with: ranges, foothills, smoky, high country. And then I said, we're going to turn mountain ranges into what's called a group. And that's what I was just showing you. So the way that we did that, it was so simple. We just dragged. So you can drag left and right. And if you drag to the right, something becomes a subpage. So I'll add another page, see how it looks. So I give that page a title. I'll just call it New Range. It's a new mountain range. We've never seen it before. Okay, I drag this over, and it is now a subpage of that. So if I go to File, Print, and then Print Preview, and say that I want selected pages, I want the page group, then I can see the preview here, including the new range. I know that's hard to see, but it will scale the content like we mentioned before. So if you worry about things falling off the page, look at it using View, but you can also see that it will try to do that for you here. Very nice. Another benefit of using page groups is expanding and collapsing them. So that'll be back in your material for the first class or the first lesson on the first day. Okay, so you can also add a footer, and page contents was the name of the page that I was printing on this one. Here's the other types of export options that you'll find. Who knew? You can take a page or a section at a time and output them to all these different options. Or you can output the entire notebook simply by switching that command. So this is from File Export. You can create a PDF of the whole thing, or you can make it into a OneNote package. Now I've done that because I needed to take one from one place to another, and I didn't want to put it in my OneDrive. So I made a OneNote package. There's a file. And then if you ever wanted to use the OneNote package, you have to be in OneNote, but you say, here's the name of it. So I've taken it from one computer to another maybe, and I've copied it over to the computer, and I find that in OneNote, and then it will create a new notebook for me with the original content. Because you think about how much you got to take when you move a notebook, there's a lot to it, a lot of files. So speaking of which, want to get a little bit into this. I know I'm kind of going a little faster here. I'm only going to hit the highlights. What I'm going to get to is sharing a notebook at the very end. Before you share a notebook, it is possible that among the people that you share it with, some people may not need to see certain sections. So this could help you organizing your notebooks, by the way. Think about this before you share something. So you can password protect a section at a time. You can't do a page, you can't do a container, but you can do a section. So I thought I'd show you how that works really quickly. And related to that is creating backups, but let me just go into OneNote real quickly. And I'll say that the getting there section is one that, I'm going to say only people with a password can get into it. And it really will work even after you share it. So if I go up to review, this is where it is, password, here's the panel, set the password. It's the only problem with it, folks, is remembering those passwords. OneNote cannot recover your data. Oh dear. Now, nothing happened really except it accepted my password. But when I click lock all, see, I could go to all these different sections that I need to protect, put passwords on all of them, and then lock all will do them all at once. So now I can't see the content of that section. When I click on it, it asks me for the password, but if I don't know it, I'm not going to get in that section. Okay, so think about that before you share a notebook. Make sure you have backups. This shows you where they are, how often they happen. I've also got a slide in here that shows you how to open a backup. From your File Info tab is where you go. You have to go through this or it will not work. So within OneNote, you go to File Info and you'll see all your notebooks will be listed, but then you pick Open Backups for the one that you need, and you find the file that way. You can, remember, close a notebook, but you can also see what you have opened. So this was, let me back up here, rewind. The notebook that you're trying to open the backup for, you have to pick which section you want from that notebook. So when you go to say, open my backup, you say, it'll say, which section do you want? I've done one called closing notebooks. That's the section. What do I do then? You're going to copy or move it. So it's the backup that I'm looking at, but I don't want to keep it where it is called open sections. I'm going to put it in an actual notebook and probably delete the one that wasn't working. I hope that makes sense. Okay. We also have what are called page versions, and this really speaks to when we share a notebook. You might not see much if you go in and look at this on your own notebooks, but if you've got a notebook open, you might try going up to the History tab on the ribbon and looking for the command called page versions. If you open it up, you're going to see different colors possibly. And so the different colors are reflecting different authors' changes. So when does it create a new version? It will create one anytime a different author is changing a page. It will create a separate version of that page, or if it's been an hour. So if you've had a notebook open for an hour at least, you might go over and look and see that there were different page versions. You can also search for different authors, because maybe you're saying, well, I want to see the changes that so-and-so made recently. So you can just say, here's the author, here's one for Anna. And you click these and it shows you the changes that they've made. So they both change vacations. I click vacations for Anna, click vacations for Sam. It's going to show them in different colors. You can, restore a version of a page if you want to, or you can just leave the versions over there. Okay, you can also search by time to see what's been changed on pages. So all this is on the History tab. Remember, you do have backups happening. If you delete something, just remember that deleting one of the things like this graphic or this paragraph, a note container, doesn't make anything happen in the recycle bin, but there is one for every notebook. It doesn't appear until you've used it. But if you delete a page or a section, you'll actually be able to find the recycle bin listed within that notebook. So I clicked on leaps and bounds and chose the recycle bin, just kind of appears in the notebook list. You can see deleted pages. There may be more than one. What do you do with it if you want it back? You right click, you move or copy, just like we've been saying all morning. And then this was an entire section. So you can actually take a page from the section and restore it, but it's got to put it where you say. So you got to say where you want it, or you can restore the whole entire section and get all the pages back. I really misjudged our time today. I'm sorry about that. I think we didn't really get started maybe right where we would, but that's okay. You can go back and look at this if you want to try any of this out. And if you have questions after today, I'll make my email available if you want to have it. Lastly, I'm going to cover moving or sharing a notebook. This I'm not going to show you, but just know that if you want to move a notebook to a new location, go through OneNote. Go through this command. You'll find it easily. File info, settings for the notebook, change location, tell it where you want it. If you save a notebook to OneDrive, then you can share it, or you can just do the sharing all at once. If you've ever shared a file from Word or any of these other apps, it's the same. But be sure that you know what you want people to do in the notebook or not. So you can say anybody can have access outside your organization. These are different levels of people. That's all it is. So if you wanted to send one to me, you'd have to go with anyone. But once you've done that, what people can do within the notebook, you really want to think about. Now, where you do that is actually, I'm going to show you on this one. You can share from lots of different commands, but here's one. So I click share and I'll say share the whole notebook. I have to put it in my OneDrive first. I can't do it without it. So once I've done that part, hopefully it will not take long. Oh, good. Then I can put in who I want to share it with. You don't really have to worry about the, here we go. That's my other me. But they've now moved it down here. There's a little gear. We're always looking for gears these days, folks. That's where Microsoft is putting settings, okay? So if I click the gear before I share it, then this is who can I edit or can I not? You may have certain people who only need to look at your notebook and not make any changes. So that would be a really good idea. You can even set a password for opening it. That's opening the link to get into it because everyone's looking at the same thing. But once you've done this, if you do allow edits, remember what I showed you earlier, go in and look at the page versions and you can see who's been doing what. And that's where you can also say, I've read it, I've read it, I've read it, and the colors will disappear. So if you want to know whether you've read some changes or not, you can see them, but then you can mark them as read for your purposes only so that you know that you've seen everything that you should that's happened recently. So that entire history tab is pretty much related to that. I know it's really complex and we're right here at the end, but hopefully you're getting some ideas. And again, I can give you the PDF that will show you the detail of where you go to do things. And this explains the highlighting that I just discussed with you. You will need to synchronize perhaps notebooks, but you can have them sync automatically from other people's changes. Shows you where to go, what to do. Try it both ways, see what you think. Okay, we are at the end. Yay! You're probably saying, thank goodness. So we did a lot in day one, and then we did a lot today. Again, you now know that content in a notebook can come from so many different places. Organizing and searching, you're going to need because of all the content. And then a little bit about managing and sharing notebooks because many of us will need to. So thanks for having me today very much. And I hope it was worth your time. I know your time is precious. So Guy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, really appreciate, Laura, what you've done and shared with us here, and there's lots of good stuff. And for those that went through, as Laura mentioned, we'll get the PDF and we'll make that available to you guys, likely linking it on our partner's website. And then we'll also, Laura, I need to make sure it's okay with you, but we did do a recording. Is it okay to have that recording shared?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Sorry to put you on the spot
That's
there.
okay.
But yes, we'll have the recording posted as well by next week so that folks can go back and review. Because as she mentioned, there was a lot here, but that is intentional. And between the PDF and the recording, as well as our contact information, hopefully you'll be able to, find the answers that you're seeking. And hopefully this will make it a lot easier on you as we go into the new year. I will hold out, just make sure there's no last minute questions.
Right.
I don't see anything coming up. So again, we appreciate you all joining us. As always, stay tuned to the partners.visitnc.com website for upcoming webinar information, as well as the information will be posted in our weekly NewsLink newsletter. So until we see each other again, thanks again for your time and have a great day. Bye now.
Thanks, everybody.